we ready?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Nate, what's wrong?
There's nothing wrong.
Yeah, no, we're good.
How you feel? No,
nothing
I
wrong.
care about Nate.
To do a check. How you doing?
I think I'm good.
What's going on?
It'll be good. It'll be
What's wrong? What's up?
No, but let's roll.
I'm so happy. I'm so happy.
No, this is how it works. How it works is this. We get the text, oh, we're talking about this. And I'm like, oh, yeah, for sure. And then we sit down and start. I'm like, wait a minute.
I got suckered in. Lock the door. Jack, lock the door.
I'm always so excited to hear what you guys had to say. And then I think about, oh, my gosh, they're going to ask me what I think. Anyways, take the roof off of what today?
All right, we're taking the
Yeah.
roof off. Offense.
Let's get it.
Being offended, offense, take offense. When you hear that word, what do you think of, Omo? Offense. Taking offense. It's the first thing that pops up.
The first thing that pops up for me is being me focused.
Being me focused.
Okay.
That's
Oh
it.
my gosh. From
Wrap
the
it
get-go.
up. That's
So we can go home.
I
Mic
like
drop.
it.
We can leave.
Wow.
Yeah.
How did you
Me
come to that
focused.
conclusion?
Yeah.
Like, why you say that?
Because every time I think of the word offense, that means somebody did something to you and you decided to dwell on it.
To dwell, take the roof off, dwell.
Think about it, rehearse it. Just
Replay it.
Replay it over and over again with yourself.
Yeah.
With yourself.
Yeah, because usually if you think about it, how many times do you go up to somebody and say, you offended me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
As opposed to how many times you just sit and think and think and think about it.
Wow. Why do you think we don't go to another person and say, you offended me? Like, is it because that's not polite?
Fear of man, it's not polite.
Oh, yeah, fear
But
of man.
sometimes the bottom line is, really in your mind,
Yeah.
is it really that big a deal?
And I think, do you think people are afraid of a confrontation?
Oh, yeah. Oh.
I mean, be offended means you obviously took something, so you can either confront it, which means there's going to be confrontation.
Confrontation,
I think a
yeah.
lot of people just don't like confrontation.
Yes.
So like a lot of us, I think when we take offense, we'll bury it. And then we go, I'm not offended. Yes, you are.
Can I say this? Don't beat me up for this, anybody. But can I say sometimes we don't talk about it because it actually feels better to just keep it in our own little dialogue in our mind. The narrative we've created on 66 is, how dare you cut me off? My day is far more important than yours. It's like,
You didn't use your blinker?
yeah, for sure.
Me
Yeah, right?
focused.
Yeah, it's like I will yell at someone for not using a blinker as I don't use my blinker
blinker.
around them. Just like,
That is so funny.
It's like, but that's way more. This is probably wrong to say. By the end of this, I'll say something different. But I was thinking about today, like sometimes offense feels good to be like, it's better for me to tell myself the story of, oh, how dare they do this to me, than it is to be real with myself and say, I'm actually not as important as I think I am.
Yeah.
Whoa.
It's really not it's not about me,
Yeah.
Oh, it's not that serious.
Yeah.
That's the one that gets me.
Truly, like a lot of times what happens is there's something deeper going on that I'm not addressing, but it's easier to yell at someone for not taking out the trash than it is to say, like, I don't feel appreciated.
Right.
Do you know what I'm saying?
Yep.
It's, how dare you not do that? And it's like, really, like, I'm actually just stressed and overwhelmed, but I don't know how to communicate that. So I'll just tell you,
Right.
you should have done this for me or whatever. So,
Right.
come on.
Dang. Yo, we came in hot real fast.
Yeah.
I guess we did.
Oh my
We should go
gosh.
do.
But what you're saying is perfect. Think about it. How many times have you been hangry? You wouldn't have gotten angry if it wasn't that you were tired or hungry.
Apple.
Yeah.
If you're so full, can you imagine you just had this great session where you felt all this love from God and somebody does something that normally would have offended you, but you're so full of his love, you're like,
Oh,
you brush it off.
You brush it off.
wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, so why is the brushing off easier when you have spent time with God?
I think you take on his nature.
Yeah.
Take the roof off his nature.
That and just he thinks no evil. He only hopes for the best. So he doesn't know how to, like, do you know what I mean? Like he just, I mean, I think of like, come on, Jesus going to that cross probably got offended so many times, right? Yet I don't think he didn't own it. He didn't own it. Like he saw the bigger plan. I think honestly for me, offense is, I don't see the bigger picture. I'm looking at the small picture, which is like you said, me, and this is a little thing where I may not see the big view of what God's doing. So I just made it, like you said, I think it's a big one about me.
Wow.
I think that's why God, because the bigger picture. Last week we talked about David and Saul. I think David had plenty of times to be offended because I'm going to say it, he was right. David had full right to, but I believe he saw the bigger picture. Do you know what I mean? I think a lot of us, we take offense because we don't see the bigger picture and we prefer to, I'm curious about you guys. I think sometimes we, especially as believers, I think we want to be right.
Yeah.
Where sometimes being right isn't God.
Yeah.
Right? Right?
I mean, what you said, God's nature. God is love. It says love is not easily offended.
There it is.
Oh my
easily
gosh,
offended.
yeah, I forgot about that one.
Not easily irritated. Even says easily irritated. Passion translation says easily irritated.
So if we're easily offended or irritated, that's why I keep saying,
Yeah.
ask yourself some questions.
Yeah. You're not perfected in love. That's good, Almo.
Dang.
I mean,
Can we slow down for a second?
Yeah. No,
This is so moved right now.
this is good.
Wow.
Can I ask?
Yeah, go.
Well, maybe we can need to chew on it some more, but I'm curious, like practically, how do we get to a place where we are not easily offended? Like when you talk about Jesus going to the cross, and you even thinking of like out of the abundance of the mouth, the heart speaks. When he was going to the cross and he was right. He was doing the right thing. Everything he did was right. But out of the abundance of his heart, what came out was, Father, forgive them because they don't know what they're doing.
Right.
And it was like, even then, what his heart was full of was, I'm actually thinking of them. Like, oh, they don't even know what they're doing. Do you know? Which, like, I don't know how do we get to that place where, not that we're unoffendable, but where that's what we're so full of, that when we get squeezed, when we get beat, when we get whatever, it's like, that's what comes out is, oh my gosh, you have no idea what you're doing, God. And we start to intercede instead of, like whine.
Yeah.
But how do we get there?
Yeah.
I think the Bible's clear. We're transformed by the renewing of our mind. And I think our old nature is the self-life nature, which is me, myself, and I, where I think Paul says it, you meditate, you consider these things, everything that's lovely, you consider this thing of he loves me, he forgave me, just these simple truths of 1 Corinthians 13. I think whatever you hang out with the most, that's what's going to come out.
Wow.
Do you know what I mean? I mean, like all of us, come on, we've all been on the road, and maybe you just thought of something, someone did something, and by the time you got there, you were fuming. That's what you hung out with, that whole ride. So now, all it's going to take is one person saying one thing to you, and you're going to, give them a piece of your mind.
Yeah.
So I think it's just an awareness and acknowledgement. I think we've kind of all talked about here. I know for me, like a lot of you, if the morning time is very precious, or if I don't have that meditation, I'm a little more on the edge.
Yeah, I'm the same way.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Where like now I love getting up early and just sitting, like not even talking, I'll just sit with him. And it's just like I said, that mirror thing was like, meh. Or honestly, if this was a different day, I might have had a different answer. Just being honest, just being real, I might have had a different answer of like, Rob, do they have cameras in this area? They got cameras in this area? They got license plates? Let's find them.
Wait,
Do you know what I mean?
Do they know what mirror thing we're talking about?
Oh, yeah. Oh, so this morning I woke up and my car side mirror, was it called the rear view? Not the rear view.
side view mirror.
Was hanging. So someone obviously hit it and just drove away. And like I woke up this morning early to go hang out, and then I saw it, I'm like, and I just kept driving. Like, took me 2 seconds, but I think it's what you hang out with.
Yeah.
But I find those areas where just throughout the day where I think we all do it, we entertain the negative so easily.
Yeah.
Anyone? No? No?
See, and what's even worse, when we entertain it and keep entertaining, it grows. It grows into this big thing, and it consumes you.
Yeah.
And sometimes, I'll admit it, sometimes it feels good, but not a good. Sometimes, okay, can I just tell you, being 6'2" and 250, sometimes it's fun to go in that place in my head where I'm picking someone up and I'm just putting them against the wall. I'm like, yeah. And then I go, okay, God, that's not me. But I'm just being real. Every now and then I have those moments.
But you know what you've just said? I love it when we're talking regular and we're speaking scripture. We're speaking scripture. It says, when Jesus actually told them, he says, it's impossible for offenses not to come.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So be angry, but sin not. So,
It's gonna
I got
come.
angry and I'm like, I could just slam him, but that's not me.
Yeah.
That's where you stop.
There you
Wow.
go.
So it's always going to be a choice.
That's so
Always
good.
a choice.
Do you feel like sometimes we use offense to feel powerful?
Sometimes to
can.
protect, to protect ourselves. Yeah.
Okay.
And to, I think this is a big one we took the roof off of, control. Like when we're in fear, what do? You try to control.
Yeah.
Wow.
So I think even what almost said is it boils down to I'm not perfectly loved, so I need to control. I have to control the situation because the reality is, let's face it, we're in fear.
Wow.
We're in the self life. We're in the me, myself, and I life.
So how do you like what Nate said about the practical side? Okay, I'm offended. What do I do with it? Because offense will come, right? Like that's what Jesus promised. So like, or he said will happen. What do you do? What do you do in that moment? I'm not looking for a formula, but just What are your experiences?
Oh, for me, okay, okay. So I just have to be careful with my words. We all have people in our life that are a sandpaper, right? And yes.
Yes.
And I think we see offense sometimes, like you said, of like, I just have to ignore it. Where it's like, to me, the offense is like, it's like the invitation. We always say that. It's really an invitation. So for me, it's like, it's a greater opportunity to own the truth. So for me, I always go to either the Romans 6 or the Galatians 2. It's like, I've been crucified with Christ. Like here's the opportunity to embrace of how dead I am. So I'll meditate on the verse. That's always been like kind of this past, I'll say it, the season has just been the simple one for me. It's just, I'm already crucified with Christ. I'm dead. The dead bear. Nate gave me this word, like God just says you're a dead bear. So I have the opportunity now to meditate and dwell on this word that God gave him to tell me. So this is the only time where I can do it. When I'm not offended, I don't need to. But when I'm offended, here it is. This is where rubber meets the road. I can now take the word that God gave him to where I can own it. And I think even Graham Cook says it, truth isn't established till it's tested. So when the offense comes, you're in it. You're actually in a great place. And it's what you do with it. You can either I will grow or the God in me will grow. So it's like, for me, it's just a simple truth. I just take one truth. And
Truth, wow.
For me, that's what I've been going to is I've been crucified with Christ. I'm already dead. I'm already dead. And like, that's just been a big one for me. So what does that look like?
Yeah. Wow. That's so good.
It's been, for me, I'm curious, what do you do, Omo? When you catch it?
The cool thing about offense is, for some reason, this is something I've thought about a lot growing up because I grew up in the church and I saw what offense could do. So that's something I've always practiced. So I've come to the point where it's always going to be, I'll ask myself questions. Why did that easily offend me?
Yeah.
Why am I still thinking about this?
That's good.
So forget the other person. You can't control people.
Oh, come on. Yeah.
But you can make decisions for what you're going to do going forward.
Yeah. Wow.
So when things like that happen, I mean, I know I'm throwing out a challenge out there now, but you can hardly offend me now.
Wow.
Yeah.
Because in 1 second I'm going, okay, what am I, where am I?
Yeah.
And if it's we also have instructions on what to do when we're offended. It's not like Jesus just left us and said, okay, good luck. Offenses will come, tons of them, but good luck. No, he said, if your brother offends you, that was in Luke, he said,
yes,
forgive them. First he said, rebuke them, meaning tell them this is not cool in a stern way. That's what the Greek actually means, Tell them it's not cool. 7 times if they repent, forgive them.
Yeah, there it is.
But later on, it talks again in Matthew 18. He says, if somebody offends you, go to the person one-on-one. I mean, we have step-by-step instructions.
Come on.
It's not like, oh, you got me upset, so I'm going to call somebody and talk to them about it. He says, go to them one-on-one. If you don't listen, take 1 or 2 people with you. Not to gang up on the person, but try to resolve it.
Wow.
If they don't listen, then get the elders, whoever you think your elders are. And then if they don't listen, says, leave them up to, to be like heathens, meaning people who've decided not to do the right thing.
Yeah.
So we actually have step-by-step instructions on what happens if offense comes. So it's not like we have to even think about it. But for me, practically, I always go, why did that offend me?
Yeah.
And if it's the person was just being really offensive, I go, well, that's on them.
Right.
Oh, wow.
I always choose peace for myself.
Yeah. Wow.
Because I honestly don't believe our bodies were built to carry offense around.
Wow.
Yeah.
Why do you believe that? Why do you believe that?
Because if you think about what offense normally leads to when you harbor it in, keep it in, that's unforgiveness, right?
Yeah.
Because you didn't forgive them. What does unforgiveness do to the body? Even science has proved.
Yeah.
I mean, we've heard tons of testimonies when people forgive people and immediately they're healed of something. Think about when you're offended with someone, you've held it. How do you feel inside?
Wow.
Do you ever feel, goosebumps?
Yeah.
It never feels right. So normally, you don't even have to be a Christian to know that's not healthy for my body.
That's
So for me, when it comes, I decide right immediately, it's not going to find a place in me. And then I ask myself, why did I get offended?
Wow.
Yeah.
That's what I do for
That's
practical
beautiful.
stuff.
That's good questions.
That's
I like
really
that.
good questions. I love that. Rooster? What are your practical steps? What do you do?
Practical steps when I don't know. I think that I've been learning about Matthew 6, where he talks about how important forgiveness is. I think about that. And the word forgiveness in the Greek is the same word. In fact, the first time it's used is when the disciples are dropping their nets to follow Jesus.
Oh, wow.
And so I'm trying to think the last time I was offended. I've had to forgive somebody. I remember, I went back to that picture though. And it was like this picture of they saw Jesus and they were like, wow, I want to follow you. And so where I'm going is more important than what I'm holding on to. And so the option I take is this, what I'm holding on to, is it worth me staying here for the rest of my life?
Wow.
Or are we going, so someone had offended me and I was thinking, where I want to go with that person is more important than what I'm holding on to that person.
Good.
That what
That's
they
a good
did.
picture.
And so that word for dropping the net of letting go is the same word for forgiveness. And so that's why I go, whenever I'm offended, I think like whether you put closest people to me, recently that's what it's been. It's like the people closest to me, I was like, because I've let them into my heart, it's like they can cut the deepest. So it's actually much easier to forgive them because it's like, well, I value where we're going way more than what they did.
The bigger picture.
Exactly. And so that's my posture of like, do I want to hold on to this and stay here forever? Or do I want to let go? And
that's a good point.
It's beautiful. Wow.
Do you think some people, or even like, I was thinking about this too, of like, do you think people maybe not aware that they've taken offense? Or even what it is? Like to me, like coming to the kingdom, it's so backwards. Where like if this is how I know I'm in offense. I just close my heart off to someone. Do you know what I mean? This is how I know I'm offended. If I'm avoiding someone, if my honor for them went down, then I'm offended. If I don't see them exalted above, like as Paul says, consider each other highly. You know what I'm saying? I know for me, I'm just curious if people know, like, how do you know if you're actually offended?
I was going to say, how do you know?
It's for me, it's like, as my heart shut off towards someone. That's for me, that's a light. Because I think sometimes I'm just not aware of it, where I'm like, oh, wait a second, why did I take the long way around this person? Or why did I just keep walking? You know what I mean? I think that's a big one for me is I shut my heart off towards someone. And because let's face it, if I honored them, I would run to them, right? Yeah. If I truly esteemed someone and had value to them, I would run right to them.
Wow.
So I don't know, I just felt led to say that.
No, that's beautiful. I love that. Yeah, how do you know you are in offense?
Rafa?
Well, I don't know. I'm just thinking. The only thing that keeps coming to my heart is when Jesus was teaching everybody, I think it was on the Mount, and he was teaching them, if you get hit, give them the other cheek. You know, and then if they make you carry your backpack, carry it for a mile, carry it for 2. And if you need to if they ask for your shirt, give them everything. Yeah. And but it wasn't until I read this book, it's called The Genius of Jesus by Ron McManus, that he gave the history behind it. And he was like, those were actually really hard tasks because there were laws in place that the Roman soldiers did to oppress the Hebrews or the Jews there. So it was like, no, the reason I get to smack you is because I'm allowed to hit. So I'm allowed to hit you to remind you your place. And if you hit me back, then I can draw my sword and kill you. Wow. And so Jesus was teaching them, hey, you give your other cheek to show them your words don't hurt me. Your actions don't hurt me. I'm actually so tough that you can hit me again and you don't even need to draw your sword. I'm above that. And the other one for the mile was they literally had these postal systems. So like literally it would be a Roman soldier and his horse, and the horse would carry the mail for them. And after and if the horse got tired and the Roman guy saw a Jew, he was allowed to take it off and put it on the Jew to give his horse a break. And it was to show them that their lives were beneath the value of a horse. And so legally for a mile, the Jew was able to carry it. So what Jesus was saying was, carry it for more than a mile. Show them how powerful you are. Show them how strong you are. Show them how in this place of oppression, you're actually tougher than a Roman soldier and a Roman horse put together, that you're able to carry it for miles and miles, and it's a joy to do it. And the last one was they were literally able to come and strip off a clothing if they were cold and they needed a replacement. Wow. And so they would come and take it. And he was like, I actually don't need it. He was like, look at these, I'm a Jew and I'm actually warmer than you. And I was like, actually look at these muscles. You know, it was like so beautiful as I was reading this, of this representation of like, no matter what this person's words do to you, no matter, they actually don't know you. They don't know you. And I looked at the definition of it, and it actually means somebody coming against what you believe is right or your values. And it's like, well, if this was my value, it's like, who established this value? Yeah. Was it my earthly dad or was it my kingdom dad?
That's good, there it is.
You know, so if my earthly dad put it, and it's hurting me and it's a shaky ground and I'm falling apart in every turn, is that even something I even want there? You know? Or is it a value that my earthly dad, my kingdom dad did it? And if it's from my kingdom dad, is it that weak of a value that a human being can crumble it? That's just kind of where like my mindset was going. And obviously it's easier said than done, but I think it's the conversation piece of like, Jesus, what do you think about this situation? You know, it's not just okay, I got hit in the cheek. Let me turn the other cheek. Go for it. You know, it's like, what is the reason behind this? What is the value that God wants to teach me? So practically, I don't know what it looks like, but I think it looks like asking God, what's the point of this? Like, what is it that you actually want to show me? I talked a lot, so somebody talk.
What's the definition of offense? Was that it?
It was that somebody comes against or says something against what you believe is right or your values.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's so funny because if you think about the gospel, like the gospel is supposed to be offensive. Like they offended so many people, they were all martyred. Like I think we forget that about the gospel.
Take the roof off, martyr.
Martyred, someone who dies for Christ.
Okay, good.
Tortured.
What was that?
Who dies for their belief?
Who dies for their belief,
Muslims,
for their value.
They believe.
Wow.
Yeah. But I was thinking about that, like how many of you, because I think offense even works from God's perspective. Like I heard someone say, like, I think it was Bill Johnson say, like, I always ask, Holy Spirit, offend me.
Wow.
You know what I mean? Where it's like
Challenge
his
me.
truths have to, like, I won't lie to you. Like when I read about God's kindness, it was offensive. I didn't believe that. My dad wasn't like that. It was very offensive. You know what I mean? Where I think, like I said, there's the good part when you can recognize it. Do you know what I mean? Like I think there's something so to that. I think we miss the. I'll say we said this kind of last time with Alex about the heart. We avoid pain.
Oh, yeah.
To be offended, you kind of have to go through the pain. What you have to do is you have to walk through those things. Like, okay, where is this and what's the truth? You actually have to, like you said, ask questions. Even you asking Jesus of like, I always love the picture of Bill Johnson has of Jesus holding the sword going,
Come on.
Go on. But he's establishing new truth. He's establishing, really the image of love. Love keeps no record of wrongs. Why not? You don't understand. It's very offensive. I mean, even I think about. Do you think the disciples? I mean, I know they talk about it, but I think about Paul. Do you think they were ever offended? Like this guy was once a murderer, and now he's coming in, and then he's rebuking Peter.
Yeah.
Like
they must have been, because if you notice, first when they asked. When Jesus first said in Luke 17 about, offenses, it's impossible for you not to get offended. And he goes, if your brother offends you, forgive him 7 times, even if it's the same day.
Yeah.
And it's personal. In the Message translation, he says it's personal.
Yeah.
Then he says later on in Matthew 18, after Jesus told them the steps for what to do, Peter goes, so how many times?
Yeah.
I mean, for him to go back.
Come on.
Give me. But the cool thing, Jesus now said, you know what? I don't even say 7 times. That's when he said 70 times 70.
Yeah.
Because the 7 times, Peter was already challenged with that 7 times.
Yeah.
Because you know what? Forget that 7 times. Let's go to 70 times 7.
Yes.
So they had to have been offended for him to go back and go, let's talk about this.
Come on. And it's so funny because I had listened to somebody talk about that with the 70 times 70. And it's not just 100 and whatever times, it's infinity. Yeah. And so it's like again and again and again and again and again. And it's like, that's a lot. Like I'm tired, See,
that's why you ask yourself, why am I still offended at this?
Yeah.
By the time you get to 38.
Yes. Jackie laughed at.
You have to ask yourself questions. Why is this still bothering me?
Yes.
Either the person is a pain and I could just ignore them, or maybe I should look inside and wonder why this is still bothering me.
That's really good.
Yeah, I think it goes down to, as you said, I was thinking about just some of our heroes of faith, people like Todd White, because he shares a lot of testimonies, and I think the key is they so own the truth. Do you know what I mean? Like he always says this. He believes he's free, and he goes, "I'm free from me," so it means I'm free from you.
Wow.
Like that's what the gospel did. It set us free from our old nature, and then he always used that line, and I always admired it. He's like, I remember, I think I've shared this on our first podcast when Todd White once said, I've never had one day of condemnation. And I was like, shame on you. But
I'm offended.
But he took
like
that simple truth of the gospel of like, I'm free from me. I'm free from me. Like I'm free. That's not me. Like he was so excited to tell people like that wasn't me. Like that person's gone. And like, I think we still tend to own the old nature a little bit. We consider the old nature.
Well, I think we defend things that should be dead.
There you go.
Like we're protecting things. Like, I'll tell you the times that I'm offended, it's a lot of times I'm protecting things like pride. It's like people poke at my pride, and it's like, well, I don't need that where I'm going. So why am I trying to keep that alive? I'm like sitting there with like a on the life support, keeping my pride alive. Like, how dare you to poke at this thing? It's like, no, there's no need for that. Where I'm going, we're sitting there trying to keep dead things alive.
Well, can you take the roof off pride?
No.
Can anybody else? Pride.
I would say for me, it's back to the beginning. It's about me, like what you said at the very beginning. When a offense comes, it's about me. It's like, oh, how good of a job did I do? How do people see me? It's centered on like what I could do. So.
All right,
but yeah.
So the tape. Stay on that.
Pride.
That was good.
Pride. Oh
Pride.
gosh. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Well, I don't know the thing I think of when I think of pride is Oh, sorry. Did I have to wait?
No, you're good.
Are we back on?
Tape is flipped.
Tape is lit.
Yeah.
Okay.
When you think about
When I
pride,
think of pride is I don't know the definition, but I think of God opposes the proud, but He gives grace to the humble. Gives favor to the humble. So it's like whenever I'm in this place of pride, I'm actually putting myself. I'm starting to work against God and against His grace, which is His willingness to use His ability on my behalf.
we'll say that again.
Yeah, say that slower. That was really
Okay,
good.
sorry. Grace being His willingness to use His ability on my behalf.
That's big.
So automatically, when I'm in pride, I'm working against everything that God has given me, like His wisdom, His strength, His rest, His peace, His everything, His healing, His all this stuff. The second I go into pride is the second I go, I'm on the opposite. I'm working against that. And it's not that He's like, I don't like you anymore. It's literally that I'm working against His. The second I go, I don't need this. It's like pulling. It's like pulling my wallet out for something He already paid for. It's like there's no point. There's no.
That's good, Nate.
I'm working against Him. It doesn't make any sense.
I think you said it big about
or worse,
ability.
you're giving away a gift He gave you.
Yes.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yes. You waste it.
There's. I went to school in California, and something I saw in Southern California that I haven't seen anywhere else was there's like this spirit of that thing.
Self-made.
Yeah. Something about being, I made it without anyone. I don't know what it is, but I saw it so thick out there. You know what I mean? But it's just interesting because we talk about the whole pride before the fall. Because I mean, God bless this guy that I kind of saw him. I was like, wow, this guy's amazing. Like he passed away, but he had his tattoo on his calf and it said self-made. It said self-made. And I was just really thinking about that. And it's just like the enemy that's his biggest thing, to make us like him. Right?
Pride.
That look at me. Look at right? Look, let me show off.
Yeah.
Where everything should point to, this isn't even my idea.
Yeah.
This isn't even my idea.
So
me
more.
being an Abel, being a 6'2" Mexican, wearing size 15 feet, Nate, all of us, like this is none of our idea.
Yeah.
So the enemy's, I think, main goal to get us is just a little bit, think if it's your idea.
Okay, why is it so good that it's not our idea?
Because we're not the author and creator of us. It's like, think of a book. You know, who wrote the book? Who created the book? Who's the author? You know, and I think if we boil it down to it, is we were created for Him. You know, we were created for Him, by Him. You know, John 15, for without me, you can do nothing. And I think we've all experienced those moments of, even when you do it right, the sense of emptiness.
Yeah.
Wow.
Where when you do it with Him, the sense of being satisfied in Him, we all know that feeling because we've all been in the world where the world just can't offer that. Me trying to do it myself can't offer that. Like me getting my degree, me doing anything, my ability, you get no satisfaction from it.
Wow.
Yeah.
Like, or you do for a little bit and it's gone. Then what do? You need the next thing and the next thing and the next thing and the next thing and the next thing. Where it's His, what your definition of grace was His ability, regardless of you.
That's Pastor Barry.
Right? Or Pastor Barry.
I got that at IHOP.
But there it is.
What?
He sat me down at IHOP and told me all about grace. So
Okay.
I was
That's
like,
so
it
beautiful.
was all
That's
color coded.
Freely.
I was like, IHOP had a menu or like on the cup.
He brought a whole thing on grace. It was all color coded and wonderful. I was
Wow.
like, it took me years to really truly understand.
Wow.
Like even when I read it, and he explained it so beautifully. And even then, it's like it's one of those things that like. I don't know why, but naturally I wanted to fight against it. I like the idea of being self-made. So even if I saw it on paper, it's a different thing to actually enter into, to really humble yourself and be like, God, like, I need you. And it works against, the reason why I feel like pride works against intimacy. It's like, for me, it's like, if I can do something by myself and then and miss out on the relationship aspect of it, of like getting to need Him and be vulnerable with Him and let Him into places. And so it's like this idea of, I used to read that verse. What's it? It's like he talks about the dinner guest, like pick the most humble seat.
Yeah.
You know, humble yourself, and then you'll be exalted. But if you exalt yourself, you'll be humbled. And I used to see that as a threat, but really, it's an invitation for intimacy. It's like I want you to need me. I want you to want me. I want you to so I can do this on your behalf instead of us being big and bad and not needing him and missing out on the intimacy of it.
Wow. And so, like, when we step into offense, we actually step into this place of pridefulness.
Oh, I was saying for me personally, a lot of times what offense pokes at is things that should already be dead.
Oh,
Pride
gotcha.
is one of them. It could be anything. It could be, I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of times I've been offended. Pride. Immaturity. That's one thing too. Sometimes I'll get poked at and it'd be like, it's like because I'm immature, I'm offended. And it's like the truth is I need to grow up. But it's better for me to just be like, you shouldn't have said that. I didn't like your tone. It's like, well, the thing is, I am actually being a baby, but I just didn't like the tone you used. It's like,
I really didn't like the tone.
It's like stories where you hear about texts, and it's like, why did you mean it so mean? It's like, what? I just put a period.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? But it depends how you took it. You're just
That's why I don't put periods. I put exclamation points.
Yeah, emojis.
I just want you to know I'm happy when I'm talking to you. Jackie's always like, she's like, when she reads my things, you know, like I was texting you today about like, hey, come, be on the podcast. And I put an exclamation point. Jackie's like, why are you yelling on your thing? Because it's like, be on our podcast, 5:30. And I'm like, no, I just want you to know I love you because periods feel mean to me, you know? But I'm with you with that. So the opposite of pride is humbleness.
Yeah. I think for me, I think of like being a son. It's your need for your father.
Yeah.
And that's
your
what
need. Where self-made pride is, if you take that role, it's kind of like the way you talked about who's on the throne of your heart. If you take that throne, then you have to be everything. Yeah. You have to be the defender. You have to be the protector. You have to be the helper. You have to be the comforter. And we've all have done that. And that hurts like hell.
Yeah, and now I'm heavy.
That's how you get worn out, burn out. Yeah. That's how you get depressed. That's how I believe a lot of ministers really get burned out and stressed out is we played that part and we become the defender, the helper, the comforter, and Holy Spirit just sitting there like, I'm bored. You know what I mean?
Yes.
But I don't know if that helps.
No, it does, because I was thinking of like, I think I misunderstood humbleness for a long time, where I thought humbleness means you just get
low, like
low to the point of like, if somebody for Christmas gives me a pair of Jordan 1s, I give it back because I'm not deserving of it. Is that different?
Yeah,
I definitely won't give them back.
Yeah.
You said you won't?
No. She knows shoes are my thing. No, I'm just kidding. But I don't think that's humility. I think humility is really knowing who you are, whose you are, and just placing him on the throne. That's about it.
Yeah.
Not letting people walk all over you. Because, if you see yourself really as your God's precious one, you're not going to let anything maltreat you, just like you wouldn't maltreat your child. Yeah. And so be humble. In the body, we've done that forever. Be humble, and we have false humility.
Yeah. Talk about that, because there's the word I wanted to talk about. Because that right there is, I believe, like a tactic of the enemy, is that false humility where it keeps us from grace.
It does, but the first time somebody called me out on it here, I was like, and I go, the fact that I went,
Did you? I'm curious. What was it? Were they trying to give you something you just didn't want to receive it, or?
So a pastor had asked me to preach at his church.
Okay.
And I told a pastor here, I don't think I can. Now, if it was somebody else, in my mind, I really thought I was, And she goes, that's false humility. I was like, ooh.
Dang.
But something inside of me
fishing
goes,
for a compliment?
No, I just felt like, actually at that moment, I didn't know what was going through my head. Because they had just told me, and I was like, know. Yeah. And when she said it, I go, you know what? Really?
Yeah.
You didn't get offended?
I may have for a minute. But
she dropped the net.
But then, you know what? See, I love that analogy you use about dropping the net. Telling yourself where I'm going is much more than this thing I'm holding, whatever, the opposite. Because like I said, from when I was young, I've always heard this scripture. Great peace great peace have they that love the Lord, they shall not be offended. That's Psalm 119, 165. Yep. And I always thought about that. Recently I've been going, peace, that word there, peace is shalom. Completeness, wholeness, healing. So I'm like, am I going to hold on to an offense and let go of healing and completeness?
Are you saying that offense is getting in the way of our wholeness?
Exactly. So you choose it. That's why I say offense is a choice.
Yeah, but even take it back to the next level. Or the invitation for wholeness. I think it's just how you look at it. Yeah. You know what I mean?
I wish I didn't hear that.
Like I think
Psalm
you gotta talk about
165.
Don't tell me it's in the Bible.
But I think we don't like that. Like This is God's favorite part. You got to go through it.
Yeah.
You got to go through it.
Let's talk about that. Why don't we like to go through it? Why don't we like to go through stuff?
It hurts.
But this is the part that gets me, all right? This is the part that gets me. Every encounter I've ever had with God ends up better.
Yeah.
Every encounter I've had with him ends up better. So I just want to know why I'm such a little punk when I'm going through this testing, through this endurance, through whatever it is, knowing that I have a good dad. Like, why can't I just get over myself and know that it's going to be good at the end?
You tell me.
I don't know.
I want to get the answer. I'm waiting for the answer.
I'm going humble. I'm getting low so I can know.
Man.
Take the roof off of
what?
Of Rafa.
Yeah, take the roof off Rafa.
I don't know. I think I'm just verbally processing with you guys of like, I hate that part of like, I know my God is so good. So like, why do I step into anxiety and fear and like thinking that there is no hope if I know my God is so big?
Yeah.
You know, is it because I took my eyes off of him? Is it because, what is it? You know, it just bugs me.
You're answering yourself.
Yeah.
I took my eyes off of him.
There
I'm
it is.
focused on what I'm going through. And I'm seeing that we are always told, you know, if it's not good, it's not the end, right?
Yeah, exactly.
But I'm seeing my current situation as this is it. This is my life
Yes.
now. But that's the trick of the enemy.
So then how do I make it fun?
I think for me, focus on the promise. I think like every trial, this is the Yahoo part. Like it's the promise. It's the promise that you need him and he's got to come through. I think for me, like every test, every trial, like you have to have a promise, man. Like he's a good father, which means he has promises that he loves to, you know, but to see a promise, man, he's so fun. Like you need to be thrown in fire. I don't know why he enjoys that, but he does. He does. He really does. I don't know. At least for my walk, for me, it's like it's anytime I find that when I do that, I haven't meditated on the promise long enough.
Wow.
Like I'm not considering it enough. I'm not meditating enough. And to be honest, I don't think it's true.
Yeah.
I don't think it's true.
Oh, wow. That's good.
I don't think it's true.
Yeah.
But the thing that makes it true is the process of what you're going through, right?
What you meditate, what
that's
you
that
consider,
keyword.
right? Transformed by the renewing. You know, what are we considering?
That's good.
You know, at least that's for me.
That's good. That's good. Rooster, you gonna say something? You breathed in.
I don't know. I'm just happy to be here. I'm just happy to be here. Did you have a question or something? I'm chewing a lot over here. A lot of my life has been changed in this little sit down on the couch with Elmo. I don't know what it is. I'm never going to be the same. I think I was thinking of 2 Corinthians 3 when he's talking about Moses and the veil. I think it's like 17 and 18. And because I was really thinking about this too this morning. I was like, God, I want to grow up. I want to mature. I want you to father me. There's things I want to change. And I was trying to figure like, how do you do that? You know, what's going on?
Yeah.
And I thought about the verse where it talks about being changed from glory to glory. And he was saying that it's with an unveiled face that we behold him, and we behold him as if we're looking at a mirror, and we reflect his glory. We go from glory to glory. And there's this transformation that comes from what we're beholding. And really, like, what I'm becoming is completely dependent on what I'm beholding, is what I was realizing. Which we know on paper, but actually in practice, it's a lot more difficult, because when we get offended or when things are stressful, it's easy for us to take our attention and just shift it to, oh my gosh, this is what's going on, or this is how much I have to work, or this is how long I've been here today, or this is whatever. And it's easy to behold that. But then in that comes nothing. And in fact, you want to know the difference in conforming and transformation? It's, what are you beholding? I'm beholding the world around me. I'll stay like the world around me. I'll take the shape of the world around me. I'm beholding this God who's everything I could ever want. I'm going to be transformed in his image. Yeah. So the invitation of transformation is taking my focus off of the water I'm walking on and back onto Jesus, who called me on top of the water.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's so good. So do you feel like that's why we need the fires to burn off what we don't need?
I think it's just fun. Like, I'll be honest. Like, I'll be honest. Now that I'm going through it, like, you guys know my house story, haven't taken it away. Like, it's become an addiction now. Like, now I'm actually having fun with it.
Oh, tell me about it.
Like, the more you go through it, the more, the more, like, it's easier to go, oh, this is going to be good. Like, because my meditation has it's only getting bigger now. So even like, okay, like, so I was meditating, and it's just so funny with my mirror thing, like, anvil came up in my spirit. And I think that's the thing too, is we don't ask God enough questions. Because if we ask him, like, what prophetic word, what promise do you want me to meditate on? He'll tell you.
Yeah.
And if he tells you, guess what's coming?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I don't think we ask God enough questions. Like, I think we we pray too much this way, where true prayer, I believe, is receiving. I've been doing reading a lot of Jing Guiyan, and her definition of prayer is simply turning your heart towards God to receive his love.
Wow.
I think we so focus on turning our heart towards God and I'm gonna love you, I'm gonna love you, I love you. But you can't give what you don't have. And I think we've missed that.
I'm offended.
No, I mean, how many times have you ever heard like we gotta love him, like you that's like forcing out a poop.
That's so good. Yeah.
You can't force love. Love should be easy. And it's easy if it's overflow.
That's beautiful.
And I think I'm just going to say it. We suck at receiving. I'll say it. I suck at receiving.
That's good.
So that's where it is for me. I suck at receiving how good he is.
Yeah, you're right.
How kind he is. How he's actually forgiven me when I yell at my son, when I'm impatient with my wife. So it's actually in those moments I've been invited to pray, which is shut up and drink his loving kindness.
That's so good. I was thinking, right now that you were talking, I was thinking about Romans 8, where he talks about the children of God, follow the Spirit of God. And at the end, he was like, so we cry out, Abba, Father.
Yeah.
And I talked about this before, but it's like, that word, I always thought Paul was dumb until I read a lot about him, and I was like, he's a genius. Like, oh my gosh. And I was like, why would this genius write Abba? Why would he write Father twice?
Father.
I'm like, Abba, Father, and Abba means intimate father, like very intimate. But then that word Father means transmitter. And then above that, it actually says son, and that word son means receiver.
There it is.
And so when I first read that, I was like, my God, like our DNA was meant to always have a transmitter because we're always receiving something.
Always.
So like, I don't know, right now that you just said that, I'm like, man, like what an opportunity to do something so effortless.
Yeah.
Like it's not something I have to go and be like, okay, now I got to be more holy, or now I got to be here in order to receive it. It's like, it's already in my heart and my DNA to receive something. But it's like, well, who's the Father? Who's the one that's transmitting?
So think about that. Even Nate had a good teaching on Wednesday about holiness, about that, about the effort. So what that's you good. Just said, if you were made to receive, if I was the devil, what do you think I would do?
Receive all the bad stuff?
I would complicate you receiving.
Yeah, complicate it.
I would make it so hard for you to receive.
Work for it.
Yeah.
I would make it so hard to receive how good he is.
Wow. That's
I
good.
would try to make you so blind because I know once you taste, I'm screwed.
Yeah.
It's going to change your focus to make you focus on the wrong thing.
Yeah.
I think the coolest story, not cool for him, but the coolest story that I've ever read about taking offense and losing out on what's good is the one in Esther. I know everybody thinks about Esther, how she goes in and she gets the favor of the king. But if you follow the story of Haman, the one who wanted to kill the Jews and all, do you know he was the favored person? The king made him the highest. All the other nobles were supposed to bow to him, but he got offended because Mordecai would not bow to him.
That's right.
Is he the one that fell back and died?
Oh no, he got hung on the same gallows he wanted to hang all the Jews.
Oh my gosh.
But the funny thing about it is, he had it good.
Yeah.
The king said, everybody bow down to Haman. And only Mordecai did not bow down. If he had focused on how good he had it. Yeah. But he kept thinking about it. He was offended. In my mind, I was thinking, all he had to do was just wait. The king would realize that Mordecai was doing something wrong and would have taken care of it. Just like if we just let God defend us instead. But he was so focused to the point where even his friends, they told him, oh yeah, you should get Mordecai. At some point, they were like, maybe we should back off. They literally told him to back off, but at this point, he was so eaten up with offense, he couldn't see clearly. He goes, I have to destroy them. In the end, he was destroyed. His sons were destroyed. And I'm thinking, he had a good deal. He was second in command to the king, but he couldn't see that because of offense.
Wow.
The enemy would just not let you focus on us, what we already have, already natural, instead of trying to, I'm going to earn this thing that you already have.
Yeah. That's so good.
Yeah, I mean, even it was in Ephesians and the Passion. I love the Passion where it says, like, something I teach the kids from day one, which is our warfare is never against human beings.
Never.
It's never against human beings. I think we forget that, like on a day-to-day basis. I mean, if you were to just meditate on that one, my warfare is never against human beings. Okay, if that's God's will, like if you were to truly meditate on that one, that's enough right there. No matter what, our warfare is never against human beings.
Yeah. The one that gets me is like on Instagram, I don't know, or like social media platforms where like a random person would comment or post something and people lose their mind. No. And then to me, like in it, I get really hot, but outside, I'm like, I don't even know this person.
And
like,
I never know you.
Yeah, I will never know you in a million years, And then, your words become so powerful in my life, The this just came to my mind. I had made it's called arroz con leche, right? So it's like, oh man, if I say it in English, it sounds gross. But it's like
rice and milk.
It's like rice and milk with cinnamon, and it's warmed up,
good.
and it's
It's good.
really good. And I had just posted it making a funny video, and this random kid is like, "What in the Taco Bell is this?" And right now it's so funny, you know. Right now it's so funny. But when I read it, I was like, "What racist guy?" What? I looked him up. You know, he was on private, so I found him on other platforms, and I was like, "I'm gonna give you a piece of my mind."
Hey,
And then it finally hit me where like I turned to God and I'm like, God, what do you want me to say to this guy? You know, I actually felt disciples, fire and thunder, burn them, God.
Bears
and
come out.
And then, you know, as I was talking to him, he was like, you don't even know him, bud. And I was like, you're right. He said, go eat your arroz con leche. I was like, all right. You know, and I just went my way and did it. That was totally sidetracked. I'm sorry. Nate, what do you think?
Well, it's good.
That's true life. That is
I
true
think I
life.
never should have posted that thing on my trip. It wasn't me. It wasn't me.
It wasn't you. It wasn't you.
I just have burner accounts. I'm just like, your food sucks. Also, I smacked your mirror this morning. I was like,
Let's see who can be offended.
you love the fire?
But I think it's so funny because like if it was you, how would you have responded to Nate in the moment if he had done it? What would you have done?
Oh, I love him. Easy.
Yeah.
Yeah,
They would do nothing.
Same with my arroz con leche. If I knew it was Nate, I would have been like, "That is hilarious. Thank you for doing that." But the minute that like it's somebody we have no relationship with, like we lose our mind. I don't know.
Well, what's his name? He wrote a book about it. The Bevere guy.
John
Bevere?
Bevere?
The bait of Satan?
Bait of Satan, where he talks about that, because he talks about, I mean, maybe we would talk about that now, but like church hurt. Like sometimes when we can elevate our pastors in this to where they're above God, where when they fall before us, we're so offended that we leave or we hold it, where he kind of talks about that, whereas like if it was just some Joe Schmo, it would do nothing. But because we, I don't know.
Put him on a pedestal?
Put him on
Yeah.
a pedestal. We idolize, we forget that, you know, they're human too, that it's harder. I mean, we've had at our church a few exoduses, can I say, you know, of different reasons, but it's interesting how we keep seeing that. We kind of keep seeing that. So is the root of that? What do you think the root of that is? Just curious. Will I talk about that?
I was going to ask Oma about it anyways. I was just saying, how long have you been at the church for?
I would say like 19 years.
19 years.
Beautiful.
Wow.
Yeah.
What year did you come?
What year? I have to do with Deji's age. Deji was like 8 months old. He's
Okay.
20 now.
Okay.
So that'd be like 2003?
Okay. Yeah, you came right before me, I think.
Yeah.
All right.
2002, something like that.
We still got time. We still got 8 minutes before flipping the tape. Because that was my heart too. Was like churches split all the time, and most of the time they split because of different of values and different of opinions and offense, really. But then churches, kind of like the Catholic Church, I think have only split once or twice in the whole whatever thousands of years they've been together. Why is that such a thing in the church? Why is that a normalcy?
Because we always, we especially us charismatics, we think you should know better.
Oh.
We always, I mean, Catholic people, they know if they sin, they just go to the priest will tell you how many Hail Marys and you move on. Somebody offended me, go to the priest, here you go. But you should know better.
Wow.
Just bait of Satan.
Bait of Satan. There it is.
That's it.
Dang.
Yeah. I mean, that's how I see it.
Yes. What's the opposite of that? Of you should
The
know
opposite
better.
of that is filter everything through love.
Yeah, love.
That sounds so much better.
Like you said, if Nate hit your mirror, you love him. You won't be offended.
And I think too, I think this is the other thing about offenses. Even if you're right, that doesn't matter. I think we think being right somehow like
Justifies.
Justifies it.
now I'm on. Game on now.
Okay.
Now bend over because I'm right. You're wrong. And it's like I don't see that in the Bible.
No.
Like I don't see David, who had the full right to have Saul murdered, but honored him in such a way.
Wow.
Jonathan, to give up his birthright for David and to protect him, to have such a heart after him, the Bible says, strengthen his hand in the Lord.
Yeah.
That's what his job, that's what he did.
Yeah.
He gave it up to strengthen his hand in God. And I think I think in church sometimes we don't like to deal with those issues where we'd rather be right than do it God than for God to have his way.
Yeah.
Wow.
Do you know what I mean? Like I'd rather be right than to do it God's way.
Right,
Am I saying that
and
right?
make sure you know I'm right.
I'm going to make sure you know I'm right.
Wow.
Do you know?
Dang. So it's kind of like a hurt you. Like I'm trying to hurt you, right?
Right. But I just think, it's just the forgiveness. It all comes from the forgiveness thing. I think we just, it's that nature of God that I think the church still needs to go through. Get ready, it's coming.
Wow. That's good.
Filter through love, and you won't become a prisoner. Remember the unmerciful servant that wouldn't forgive?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He was sent to the prison. There's a difference between captives and prisoners.
Yeah.
And it was after his debt got forgiven. Is that the parable?
His debt got forgiven, and after he begged, his master was like, "You're good," but then he wouldn't forgive somebody else's debt, and goes, "You go to the torturers." That's why. Why do we have all this many churches on one street?
Yeah.
Somebody came up with a different idea. You're like, I'm right, and I'm going to make sure I'm right. So I'm going to take my ball and go home.
Yeah.
Wow.
And I'm curious if we actually go to God. Do we even ask questions?
That's
like I
the thing.
said, do we even ask questions?
If we ever ask God, what should I do about this brother? I bet he's not going to say cancel him.
Yeah.
Oh, not cancel. Oh.
Yeah. And I think it's harder to go to God when you know you're right. I'm not going to go to God. I know I'm right. I'm so right.
And I have a feeling he's going to say, just go anyways.
Yeah.
So you avoid that conversation.
Yeah, there it is. I think, oh man.
We avoid.
We avoid the conversation.
But that's what you both just said, pride. Like, what do you do when you're offended or you have pride? You avoid the person. You go around the person. You miss out on God's goodness. You miss out on the gifts that he already given. Offense is so dumb.
It is so dumb.
Because
Say
it
it
takes
again.
so much. It takes so much from
offense
us.
is dumb. It does. It
No, it's not all
robs.
the way dumb. It's not all the way dumb. Psalm 51 talks about David sitting there saying, "Search me, know me." And at the end of it, he ends it with this. He says, "Point out anything in me that offends you, Lord."
Wow.
But that's when we're like, God offend me.
That I might know the way to eternal life, which is knowing God.
Wow.
It's to know God and Jesus Christ. It's like this intimacy of knowing who He is. David was saying, I invite you to point out anything in me that's offending you. Point it out so that I can know you. The invitation, the desire of his heart was intimacy, and what was getting in the way was like anything that's offending God. And that.
Wow. That's good.
And I love that. Like, God, is anything I'm doing, is this bothering you? It's like, is this getting between us being intimate together? And a lot of times for me, it is pride, but
It's really good.
And that's what you have to do. I think, Holy Spirit, offend me. Like, we should always be praying that. Flip the tape.
That's a scary
Flip the tape.
prayer.
All right, we're back. Tape is flipped.
Well, I love what Nate just said.
Offense.
what did I just say?
You said God should offend me.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a scary prayer. I don't know about you. Can I be real with you guys? There's some times when I'm like, oh
You
yeah.
don't want to know?
Yeah,
you
I'm
don't
like,
wanna know.
I know I need
You
to
don't
grow.
want to know.
He did. That's not what he was praying. He wasn't praying God offend me, although I do love that one.
Yeah.
He was
say it.
saying, point out in me anything that offends you, which if we're talking about the definition of offense, that you said,
values,
it's like,
yeah.
what do you value, God, that my life
Oh,
doesn't line up with?
That's so
Yeah.
good.
It's an invitation for me to actually line up my life, my heart, everything inside that no one else sees,
Yes.
even to what God values.
So good, Nate.
And sometimes I value having it all together, and God doesn't. He's like, I actually value when you don't have it together.
Yeah.
And I'm like, but I like when we get together.
Yeah.
It's like then the invitation to reconcile that is through intimacy. That's where the grace comes.
Yeah, that's good. That's really good. And I think that's it. It's like sometimes I don't want to see how broken I am.
Which, let's talk about it. 2 Corinthians 12:9. Paul, right? The weakness. I think I love that verse. My weakness
made
became
strong.
a portal, to God's power.
Yeah.
Our weakness is his addiction.
Yeah.
Like without going there, you don't get the glory. According to that verse, the greatest glory lives in the weakest part. The greatest tangible expression of God lives in our greatest weakness. And I think because the answer is to what Nate said, because in that place is you find his greatest ability for you.
Yeah.
His power, his strength. Where that's another one I think the enemy uses, especially for men. We talked about this with the men's meeting, where we like to show our good side forward. We don't show our weakness. Let me show you what I'm really good at. I'm really good at this. Let me show you, I'm really good at piano. I don't want to talk about guitar. I'm not good at, you know what I mean? We love showing, where kingdom's the opposite. Paul's like, I'm weak at this. Let me show it. This is great. You know?
I think my heart's just, I want to sit under my own vine.
Fig tree and do nothing.
Alone in the dark, like just chilling. We prayed this one prayer. Can I just be real with you guys? Man, it was like almost a year and a half ago. My wife and I, we were just chilling. I'm saying it, baby. We were just chilling. Watching Netflix, watched all these great things. It was awesome. We were cruising, autopilot. And then Jackie, she was like, babe, we're too comfortable. she was like, what are we doing? We need to be changing the world. There's revolution, yada, yada, yada. And then I was like, well, let's pray into it. Let's do it. And I was like, Jesus, I just thank you that you use us. I just thank you that we change the world. And yeah, no more convenience.
Yeah.
I haven't had a day off. And like we just keep going. And it's like, why, God? Why are we doing this? God, why are we doing this? But then we come here and like have these beautiful moments, or like you come and you're like, Rafa, I see this. And I'm like, okay, like, is it worth it?
Yeah.
Is it worth it? Is it not worth it? Like, was it better when I was just sitting watching Netflix, or am I more alive now that God is actually using me?
Yeah. It's good.
I'm just putting my heart out there.
Love it.
I just want to sit under my own vine.
All right. This was really good. I think another thing too is, and Omar, you kind of said this about just the fact of God's nature is love, and you can't give what you don't have.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I know if to me, offense is like a check engine light. It's like, so that you have to begin the conversation. Do I need oil? Do I need gas? Because you're not perfected in love. There's some part of aspect of God's nature that you fully haven't received. You haven't fully trusted in. If it's forgiveness, if it's his kindness. Because I know for me, when I don't receive that kindness, I'm very short-tempered. Very short-tempered.
Same.
Yeah.
With my dog, with anyone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Same. In the same boat.
Offense? Anything else? Any last words of wisdom, Momo?
It's a choice. You know how we sometimes go, I couldn't help it.
Oh,
Yeah.
don't say that.
It is a choice.
It's a choice.
It's a
say
choice.
that. That's good.
Choose life, choose peace, choose completeness.
Yeah, I'm choosing that right now.
Yeah. So when the offense comes,
Gotta choose. Do I want to hold on to it? And then if I'm holding on to it, it's like you can only hold one.
Yeah.
Peace or offense.
Oh,
Golly.
yeah.
Choose.
that's
And like Nate
crazy.
said, you have an opportunity to let go.
That was Jesus.
Oh, Jesus, sorry, Jesus.
That wasn't
Jeez.
me.
To let go.
Don't put that on me.
Good job.
But I think I have to say this one again, because I think we just don't do this. You have to begin the conversation. You have to ask the question. I
That
think
was really good.
I think so many of
Why
us
just bother me?
don't even go there.
Yeah.
Don't even have the conversation because in our head we think we're so right.
Or we think God is mad at us.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know about you, but like, there's times when I'm like, I did something wrong. I was like, how does God actually feel about me? And like, I'm too afraid to go and have a conversation with him that I'm like, I'll keep it to myself. I'll hold on to it. And then I think about Moses. How he killed a dude, ran from his promise for 40 years. And then in that moment, after 40 years just being a shepherd, doing his thing, he has a wife, he's comfortable watching Netflix. That's when the burning bush appears and he turns towards God and he's like, this place is holy. And I'm like, God, that's not right. Like, you were supposed to show up when he fulfilled his purpose. Once all the people from Egypt, that's when you show up in a burning bush. And he's like, no. He's like, that's what makes me different in the world, is I show up after you made a mistake and you felt like you're not deserving of doing something. That's when I show up. That's when I'm burning everything alive. I personally, it sounds good when I'm saying it, but like, I don't like that.
Yeah.
Because like, it's hard to turn that way because the world says otherwise.
Yeah.
And
I think, come on, we have to talk about this then. Where that point comes where you want to give someone a piece of your mind.
Yeah.
Like, that's the choice where it's just like, I'm frothing here. You know what I mean? It's just like, and whenever, we all had that. You have that moment. Like you said, it's a choice. To where you can give someone a piece of your mind and not the mind that's the mind of Christ.
Right. And the mind of Christ always elevates and brings people up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As much as we think we'll feel so good if I could just give them a piece of my mind.
You don't.
You don't.
You don't. Right? You've done it. I've done it.
So, yeah. I've done
Oh,
it.
man.
So you're like,
Poor
I feel
Kristen. Can I
worse
just say, I
afterwards. You're
apologize to my wife. Yeah.
I should have just kept that one.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
good.
I
Oh.
exploded when I was so right. And afterwards, I felt so empty.
Man, I also find it when like I bury it. Like I miss out on God
There's the other
being
one.
able to elevate some. Just yesterday, it was like 92 degrees outside. We were doing volunteer day. And I couldn't find the cover to the tent, and like I'm sweating. And I was like, man, I'm not supposed to be sweating, like all this stuff. The right answer was for everything to be together in one place. And so now I'm like on this chicken run, looking for this thing. A million things are happening. And I wanted to be offended. And then literally took a second. Down at the Union, I was alone. And I was like, God, I don't know why I'm here. I don't know why I'm looking for a tent, but I know it was your idea. So what do you want me to do? And I was like, because I don't want to be fake. I don't want to pretend that everything's fine. Like, I'm actually really upset. And then he was like, well, if you just let me hug you right now. And I was like, all right, like it's hard and I don't want it because I also don't like that I ended up in this place of anger, this place of frustration. I don't like that, God. And then he was like, be like Moses, like turn towards me in the ordinary. And I was like, all right. So I turned towards him and I did feel a little better. But then I got a word from him and he was like, it's an opportunity to elevate somebody rather than destroy them.
Wow.
And as soon as I said that, as soon as he told me that, Evangeline called me and she was like, I'm here to help. She was like, I'm here to help you find this thing. And my prideful side wanted to be like, I don't need your help. I'm gonna make sure everybody knows I suffered alone.
Self-made.
I'm self-made. but because I went to God, it was an invitation not to do life alone anymore. And I was like, you
write
come.
that down, people.
I was like, you come, like come. And she was like, what do you think it is? And I was like, I don't know, I'm looking. And she was like, do you think it would be in the storage? And I'm like, you're so smart. You're such a genius. Like, let's go find it together. And then like we go in there, like she knows like for whatever reason we moved one thing and she was like, there it is. And I thought it was white and it was great. It doesn't matter. But she grabbed it and she was like, I'll carry it for you. You don't carry it, I'll carry it for you. And I'm like, first of all, this looks wrong. Like I'm the dude, I'm supposed to be carrying it. And she was like, I want to honor you. And she grabbed it and her hair was all messed up because of the thing going and then we're going and in my heart I was like, man, if I had just blown up or if I had just made it all about me, if I had just gone and gave people a piece of my mind, I would have found it, but I would have been alone.
Gosh.
You know? Anyways, I love you.
Can I say I went through something what you just said and I'll spill my beans about this. I think anytime we try to do it alone, you just stack yourself for that fall.
Yeah.
Yep.
When you do it alone, because you're building really your resume of look what I'm doing.
It's true.
And then when someone doesn't honor and value it, you're coming down.
Oh, yeah.
Like you are coming down.
Yeah.
I know that's a big one.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like I used to, I still do, but I used to get here early Monday morning and do all the chairs, and I was doing it for the wrong reasons, but I was doing it. And like I remember one time I was offended at you, and like I would do it. I would put them away and do all that, and this guy runs out to a meeting. And I'm like, what is he doing? Like, he didn't get here. He's just going to run out, not even attempt to move one chair. So offended by you. And God said, he's advancing the kingdom. What are you doing?
Oh.
That's right.
Jackie.
Tell him, God. Tell him. Tell him what's up, God.
I love the joy that just brought up.
Tell him, God. Tell him.
That's what I was trying to tell him,
man. Good job. You could have got offended right there. Good job.
But every chair, you know who I was? I was not the prodigal son. That was the other
The one
son.
that stayed home.
Look how faithful I am.
am.
I'm building my
Yeah.
case, and I almost lost it. Like I almost lost it completely.
Wow. That is really good. And then the thing I said about the prayer with like that Jackie made, like, yeah, these moments of growth suck. And like, I would rather be home watching Netflix, but I'll be alone.
Yeah.
I'll be comfortable, but I'll be alone.
Not
And how much, like, I've learned so much, like even this podcast, and like people watching, like being with you and like prophetic words that I have and like the hugs that I get and the love that I get and like the affirmation that I get, I can never get from Netflix.
Yeah.
No.
Whether I was alone, yeah, it grows and it's uncomfortable, but that's why I asked the question of like, how do I like not let those moments of growth pain compromise the promise?
Yeah.
Because it's so worth this part, the fellowship and the loving and the enjoyment of God. Anyways,
That's good, man.
well, Momo, any last
Last
thoughts?
words.
What do you think?
Another last word? Like
was good.
when you just said, how do I make sure I do this? I'm just thinking of what he just said. Just focus on the promise. Focus on the promise. I think where we put up our focus always determines where we end up.
Yeah.
Where we put our focus determines where we end up.
I mean, you know how they say if you're driving, don't look that way because the whole car is gonna go that direction. That's pretty much it. If you focus on love, when offense comes, you're gonna choose love.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
And when you focus on the promise, like this is why I think we don't even talk to him. When he tells you promise, you know what's coming.
Yeah.
Like where if you're not focused on the promise and it comes, you got nothing to rely on.
Yeah.
Like
You
when
made
going
a
through that
mistake.
thing though, I had so many prophetic words to rest. I'm like, oh, you did tell me I was going to go through this. It was easy. So it was easy for me to let go.
Yeah.
You know, at least for me. But yeah, I'm with you. I think Nate, you got to get to a meeting.
I do, but can I say one thing?
Yeah.
Thank you so much. There's so many times I could feel you lean into the prophetic words over my life, even when I'm not. So even when you have the opportunity to like sit there and be like, I'm offended, I can't believe you didn't do this, or like I am actually really sucking at things. You actually lean into like, oh no, you're a finisher. Even when I'm not finishing things, you're like, no, you're a finisher. Like you hold on to it even when it hurts. You know, even when I'm not believing it. So thank you for that, a lot.
That's beautiful.
And no, I have to go to that meeting.
I love you.
But maybe, you know, if you guys want to know times you offended me, just come see me after the show. I love you guys.
I've forgiven you, but I'll let you know.
Omo, thank you for coming. Rooster, you got to get to your meeting. Choo Choo, I'm Chaba. That's Jackie Jack. No Roof. We love you. We'll see you next time.
Yes.
Take the roof off a fence. Love you.